Hello and welcome! This character profile video is for the class Reaper, and what you will see is all of her skills, the top 8 PVE and PVP skills that I recommend, her skill combos, enhancements, player card, and a gameplay video. So, without further ado, I give you the class Reaper. Here we go. And welcome to the skill slide. If you are new to my character profile videos, allow me to introduce the interface. On the far left are all of her skills. On the far right is all the specials connected to those skills. And then next to the skill column is charges. That's how many times you can use the skill. And then hits is how many times the skill will hit a creature or opponent. And then the column damage-PVE is the highest percentage damage that skill will do against a creature in the world, in the game world. And then the column damage-PVP is the highest percentage damage it'll do against another player's character. And of course you have the passive at the bottom. So I wanted to cover a few things while we're looking at the skills slide, and that is, first of all, she is just like her sister Raven. She uses the Shard of Darkness system. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it'll be clear by the end of this video. And let's see. Yeah, if you look at the specials and you see the words super armor in red and you look to the bottom left corner, that just means that super armor is not applied in arena, but everywhere else in the game it is. So for your you PvP people out there, be aware that those are the skills where super armor won't be with you in arena, but don't worry, we'll get to that as well. And to the far left in the skills column, I have colored some words purple and even highlighted one purple. So what this means is, if you use the skill Nightmare, which teleports you and puts you in a ball of energy, when you are in that state, you have the option to use Soul Reaver, Soul Spike, and Harvest. Any one of those, and you'll teleport to the target and do damage. So that's why Nightmare is the trigger to get it going, and then the other ones colored purple in the skill list are your options on what you can choose. And then we'll go over the passive in the PvP section of the video, but for now, take a look at all of the skills, and when you're ready, we'll go on to the top 8 PvE skills that I recommend. Here we go. And welcome to the PvE slide. So what I've done is I've taken all the skills and I've organized it according to the column of damage-PVE, from the highest percentage all the way down to the lowest. And your highest percentage skill is Soul Spike. So a few things to go over. As you know about the purple on the left hand side for skills. You know about the red super armor, how it's not applied in arena. I wanted to point out that I've highlighted the top 8 in green because those are the damaging skills I would like you, or suggest for you to try out. However, I would suggest to maybe replace Flesh Ripper with Nightmare. And Nightmare doesn't do any damage, but its teleportability is a very important component for what Reaper is. I mean, it's a really good tactic to incorporate Nightmare into your rotation of skills to keep your opponent guessing where you're going and what you're doing, because you can teleport away, you can teleport in to create an attack. So you have to trade out one, and it would be Flesh Ripper is the suggestion. Other than that, it is really nice to see that she has 3 skills that are over 2000% damage: Soul Spike, Soul Reaver, and Rift Slicer. So take a moment to look at all this, and when you're ready, we will go over the top 8 PvP skills that I recommend. Here we go. And welcome to the PvP slide. So what I've done is I've taken all the skills and I've organized it according to the column of damage-PvP, from the highest percentage all the way down to the lowest, and Soul Spike is your highest damaging one, as was with PvE. We have a lot to cover on this slide, so I'll do my best to make sure you have all the knowledge. First things first, people who do PvP, they want to know, tell me, what skills can I use my super armor in arena as well as out in the world? And I'm pleased to tell you that your highest damaging skill, Soul Spike, is the answer. It provides super armor, and if you didn't want to use that, going down the list, you have Shadow Slash, and then the next one below it, Harvest. So those three are what you would use, and people who do PvP, they start out with their super armor to get that going, and then they will, in their rotation of skills, say do Soul Reaver, Rift Slicer, maybe Fatal Cleave, and then refresh Soul Spike again to get their super armor refreshed. So that's usually how it works for people who do PvP. Now, I'm gonna just talk about the passive, so let's go ahead and dive into that. You automatically create one shard of darkness every 5 seconds and consume shards to apply the skill effect. Now let's read what happens when that occurs. So PvP damage dealt is plus 10% for 15 seconds when you create a shard of darkness. So you need to know what skill, what can I do so that the shard is created so it gives me the buff, and I will answer that, because that ties into the next part. Consume to apply the skill effect. PvP damage received is minus 10% for 15 seconds, and damage against bosses, all bosses, is plus 10% for 15 seconds. So if you just take a moment to listen to that and look at it, you need to know what skill will consume shards of darkness so that the system or the game will automatically create a shard, and the minute that is happening, the minute it happens, you'll get your PvP buff of plus 10% for 15 seconds. So these are things you need to know, and what we're going to do is cut over to a gameplay video showing you how this works. So I'll be using the skills Soul Spike, Soul Reaver, Harvest, and Nightmare to activate the trigger. Now if you're looking at the specials, the teleport while targeting, and you use those three during Nightmare mode, you're teleporting too, but I'll explain that. So give me a moment, let me cue that video up, and here we go. And here we go. So at the bottom right corner we have Nightmare to trigger, and then we have Soul Reaver, Harvest, and Soul Spike. Now there's something special about Soul Spike I'm going to cover, but here's what we're trying to do. Is we want to show you this teleport ability. So we'll select someone, we'll do Nightmare, which brings us in that, and this is how long it lasts, just for your knowledge. It doesn't last very long, so you need to choose where you go and what you do wisely. And then let's select him again. Now what I'm trying to show is, did you notice that? I tapped on Nightmare and then I tapped on Soul Reaver, and it didn't teleport to the opponent. It just attacked. That's because there's a range. So what we're going to do now is try to figure out what that range is. How close do you need to be to actually teleport to the creature or player's character? So I'm waiting for my Nightmare to refresh, and there it is. You got to be that close for the teleport to actually happen. So just like marketing, teleport does occur, but the details of how close you need to be wasn't discussed. So we're gonna just go ahead and kill these guys off. Now as I do all that, I'm also wondering if it applies to the harvest skill. So, and now this one right here, this is the soul spike move. And I'm noticing something, and I don't mean to be this way, but soul spike is where you stand up in the air, where you float up in the air and you attack at range. So I have bad news for you, unless you see different. Nightmare and then soul spike won't teleport you to your opponent. It just attacks. So I would think about that when you are using your attacks. That soul spike really is a at range type thing, whereas soul reaver and harvest, you can teleport to your opponent. You just got to be a little bit closer when you're coming out of nightmare mode to do it. So let's go ahead and return back to the PvP slide. Here we go. Before we go back to the PvP slide, I wanted to just quickly show this to you, that when you're on your skill screen and you tap on Soul Spike and you see this icon for your flow, you know, it also talks about when you don't use it in the nightmare state, the teleport will not apply. I hate to be this way again, but it doesn't matter. You know, Soul Spike is you're floating up in the air and attacking at range. So honestly, you could spend time getting this enhancement up to level 3 and then paying silver to unlock it, to activate it, but I just don't see the point. So once again, I think it's only those two skills that really allow you to teleport. So let's go back to the PvP slide. Here we go. And welcome back to the PvP slide. I feel that I did a okay job showing you the passive in action and what the teleport means and how close you need to get, but I don't feel like I've explained the passive very well. So I'm going to take another crack at this, and I'm going to show you a still image and go over it. So let's do that. Here we go. And here we go. Let's see if this clears it up for you. So on the left hand side there's only one skill that consumes a shard of darkness, and that is Soul Reaver. You need to go into that skill and turn on the enhancement for it to start consuming. It'll glow when you do that. There's no silver cost, there's no level cost, just go in and turn it on. Now, skills that give you a shard of darkness is Shadow Slash, Rift Slicer, and Harvest. But there are enhancements in there that you need to probably pay with silver or a level requirement and to turn them on. So that is important. Other than those three, you will automatically get a shard of darkness every 5 seconds, but there needs to be an empty slot that needs to be filled. So the minute that you use Soul Reaver and there's 3 empty slots, and then the game gives you a slot, that's the point at which you get the buff. And let's move over to the right side and what that means. So when you're consuming a Shard of Darkness through the skill Soul Reaver, you will get your PvP damage received minus 10% for 15 seconds buff, and you will also get damage against all bosses plus 10% for 15 seconds as well. So Soul Reaver is giving you these two things. Now when you receive a Shard of Darkness, because it's now there and the game gave it to you, or used a skill like Shadow Slash, Rift Slicer, or Harvest, the minute you get it, then you're given the PvP damage dealt plus 10% for 15 seconds buff. So hopefully this clears it up for you, and let us conclude back on the PvP slide. Here we go. And once again, welcome back to the PvE slide. I did tell you there was a lot to go over, so hopefully this clears it up for people who like to do PvP, what their super armor is that they need to use and focus on, and how the Nightmare skill works with the other three skills, and in action that only Soul, Soul Reaver and Harvest seem to be the only two skills that teleport, and once again, how to get your passive to activate so you can get the effect that you're looking for when you need it in PvP, boss fights, or just general gameplay in the world. So take a moment to look at all this, and when you're ready, we're going to move on to the skill combo slide. Here we go. And welcome to the skill combo slide. So before we get into what this is all about, let's tell you where to find it. If you're in the game and you tap to bring up the pause screen or the interface where you can go to your skills, and then once you're in your skills, you look over to the left and kind of towards the middle, and you go straight down and you'll see a little icon that looks like a magnifying glass, and you tap on that and you'll bring this up. A list of skill combos window. You may need to scroll up and down to see everything, but that's why I put it all on one screen for you. It's so you could, I don't know, print it out or have it on another monitor if you're playing on an emulator, and you can practice while the skill combo screen is on the other side, or excuse me, the other monitor. So I'm trying to make it very easy for you to visually see this and practice. This is for if you're like, I like the character, but I just don't know what skills to choose and how to play. Pearl Abyss has given you this screen so that you can practice with what they're recommending. Now that that's out of the way, let's tell you how it works. On the left side of the screen is the skills that are in blue. Those are the ones you would start out with. So let's go with the PvP slide we just got through doing, where I recommended you start out with Nightmare. So do they. See, the one in blue, the second one down is Nightmare. And what they're saying is chain it to any one of these four skills. Soul Reaver next, Karshan's Wrath next, Soul Spike, or Harvest. And I said you should do Soul Spike so you can get your super armor. And they agree with me. See, Nightmare to Soul Spike. Now, all of the other ones, like at the very top of Death Circus to Soul Reaver or Harvest, play around with it. Use this probably on the creatures of the world so you can get very comfortable with it. And then you will go into a PvP area feeling very comfortable with chaining your skills together because you started here. And if you feel like you're the advanced player, you will know which ones you prefer and which ones you want to do. So take a moment to look at this, and when you're ready, we'll move on to the enhancement slide. Here we go. And welcome to the enhancement slide. So if you're new to this slide, allow me to introduce the interface. On the far left side are all of her skills. On the far right side is the branch damage connected to those skills. And in the center is 4 columns. The first, second, and fourth column are things that help your Reaper. The third column is dedicated to things that happen when you're fighting a creature or another player's character. And so that's the general layout of it. Let's see, you already know why there are things highlighted in purple on the left hand side. That's the Nightmare mode to trigger, and the other purple ones are the skills you can use to teleport and so on and so forth. The columns have things highlighted in purple, and that is just where you use Shards of Darkness or create Shards of Darkness, and you just got through seeing that on the previous slide. Now, there's a reason why Soul Spike and Harvest is half purple, half red, is because there's something important about them, and that's why there's red in their name. Soul Spike, you already know, I covered it previously, which is that flow where if you don't use Soul Spike when you're activating Nightmare mode, there's no teleportation. Yeah, I throw my hands up to that one. It's like, alright, whatever. And then there's Harvest. So if you look at the first column where it says forward guard instead of super armor, if you don't know what forward guard is, it's an effect where the opponent that's in front of you, if they try to do damage to you, the damage will be minimal or zero as long as they're in front of you. So I don't know why somebody would give up super armor to receive forward guard. And if you don't know what super armor is, I will explain it on the player card screen, or slide, so don't worry about that. But that is the reason why Harvest is half colored red, is because people who do PvP would covet their super armor and not be so quick to give it up for forward guard. But if that is your playstyle to enjoy forward guard, then that's why it's pointed out. So take a moment to look at all of this, and when you're ready, we are going to move on to the player card screen. Here we go. And welcome to the player card slide. It is like a baseball card. It is all the slides you saw before, all put together on one slide for you to enjoy. And there's something new. So looking at the whole interface at the top is the top 8 PVE and PVP that I recommend. And to the right of that is something new. It's called Immobilization. Anytime you have a skill that stuns, knockdown, freeze, etc., anything that just puts your opponent on the ground so you can get extra hits, you're immobilizing them. So what you see over there is green that you have an immobilization, and then the next column is how many do you have. And Soul Spike seems to be the one that has the most immobilizations with 2, and there's a lot of other skills below that also have 1 immobilization. So overall, she's got a really good amount of skills that can immobilize your opponent while you are fighting. And why is that important? I will cover that as we get into the definitions of forward guard and super armor at the bottom. But below that is the skills that you know, and then below that is the enhancements, and then there's a legend for what SOD means, is Shards of Darkness. And I don't think I covered this, but if you look in the enhancements for Soul Reaver and go all the way over to the far right where it says heal 400 HP per hit, the reason heal is colored is because your heal will work everywhere in the game except for Path of Glory. She won't heal herself, but everywhere else, yeah, she will. So just be aware of that. And then of course the ones in red where it says it's not applied in arena. When I look at the enhancements column, I clearly highlighted flow and everything else in red. That has nothing to do with arena. I just wanted to point that out, that it made no sense. So don't worry about that. And at the very bottom is the definitions for forward guard and super armor, so let's go over that. Forward guard means that incoming damage will either be 0 or heavily reduced. As long as your opponent is in front of you, or in front to the right or the left, and they try to damage you, this is what will happen. If they get behind you, then they will damage you normally, so be aware. Super armor. This means that incoming damage will be reduced, and the effects that immobilize you, like stun, knockdown, freeze, etc., will not happen for a duration of time. This is why everyone who does PvP gets their super armor in, gets some skills in, and then refreshes their super armor. We don't know how long it lasts, and we will never know. Otherwise, people can exploit that. So these are the definitions for forward guard and super armor. So take a moment to look at the player card, and when you're ready, the music is going to change, and we will go to gameplay video where we show you what Reaper can do. Here we go. And welcome to the gameplay video. Before we get started, we need to show you where we're at. We're over here in Balanos, and we're over here at Kron Castle entrance. We're here because we love it here. Their CP is that low, and our CP is that high. She'll be just fine. So what we'll do is we will use our autopath here. We'll have Reaper fight for about 2 or 3 minutes, at which time we will have her go back to town. I will give my outro and say thank you. So, without further ado, I am pleased to present the class Reaper. Here we go. And she's just about ready to head back to town. There we go. Alright. So, let me take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like my videos, please subscribe, like, let people know. I'm always making more videos, and I'm happy to do it. So what we're going to do now is just move the camera around, zoom in, so we can display our Reaper for you. There we go. Yeah, it looks about right. And we'll have her give a nice wave. So there we go. And once again, thank you so much for enjoying this video. And you have yourself a great day. Take care. Bye now.